In the fast-paced world of Formula One, 2024 promises to be a marathon with a whopping 24 Grand Prix on the calendar. But hold on. Before you buckle up for the ride, there's a shocking twist. Helmut Marko, a key figure in the F1 scene, is casting serious doubts on whether all these races will actually happen. Are we in for a bumpy season ahead? Let's dive into this video today to uncover the truth behind the uncertainty in the 2024 Grand Prix lineup. In 2023, there were supposed to be 22 races for Formula One, but one got canceled because of really bad floods. Now in 2024, there will be a whopping 24 races starting from February 29th until December 8th. It's going to be the most races ever in a single season. But this guy, Marko, doesn't think it's all going to be smooth sailing. He doesn't believe that everything will happen just as planned. He said, "We might not do as well as we think." He's worried that some of these 24 races might not happen. Last time, the Imola race couldn't take place because of a big natural disaster. Looking at how things are going globally, he's not too sure everything will happen like they want. Imola was called off last year because of heavy rain in Italy. The race in China was also canceled before it even started because of rules about who could go in the country due to the virus. Now, those rules have changed, and people from other countries can go back to China. Let's talk about other insights into the GP races. Before the big races begin in 2024, there's preseason testing. It's like a practice run for the teams and drivers in Bahrain from February 21st to February 23rd. They test their cars and gear to make sure everything works perfectly. The FIA, the people who organize these races, decided to change the timing of the testing. Instead of going on until 7:30 p.m. like last year, now it will finish at 7 p.m. every day. They did this to be more mindful of the environment and try to make the races more eco-friendly. Testing in Bahrain is a part of their plan to be sustainable. They don't want to keep moving the cars and equipment back and forth between testing and the first big race of the year, a way to save energy and reduce pollution. So during the testing days, they will start at 10 a.m. and finish at 7 p.m. This is a change from last year when they went on a bit longer. The idea is to be more efficient and eco-friendly. After all this testing, the Bahrain Grand Prix will kick off on March 2nd, 2024. This time, it's going to be on a Saturday night, making it a bit different from the usual. It's like they're trying out new things to see what works best. After the Bahrain testing, the next big event is the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on March the 9th, 2024. But there's a twist. They decided to have it on a Saturday night because the Muslim holy month of Ramadan starts the next day. This is like a respectful change to honor an important religious time. Now, why did they race on a Saturday in Bahrain too? Well, it's because they have races on 2 weekends in a row. So by racing on Saturday in Bahrain, they make sure they have enough time to move all the cars and equipment to the next race in Saudi Arabia. One exciting thing about the 2024 season is the comeback of the Chinese Grand Prix. It hasn't happened since 2019 because of COVID-19 rules in China, but now it's back on schedule and fans are looking forward to it. To make things better for the planet, the people in charge, called the FIA, are trying to be more eco-friendly. They want Formula One to be sustainable, so they're planning the races in a way that's good for the environment. This is part of their big plan called Net Zero 2030, where they want to make the sport eco-friendly by the year 2030. The big boss of Formula One, Stefano Domenicali, shared the plans for 2024. He said, "I am delighted to announce the 2024 calendar with 24 races that will deliver an exciting season for our fans worldwide." He thanked everyone who helps make these races happen and said they will keep working to make the calendar more sustainable in the years to come. It means they're trying to find the right balance between old and new races while also being good to the planet. Some changes are happening in the races. The Japanese Grand Prix usually takes place in September, but now they moved it to April. It's going to be the 4th race of the season, just before the Chinese Grand Prix. Also, the race in Azerbaijan, in a place called Baku, is moving to the second half of the year, from September 13th to 15th. It will be a week before the Singapore Grand Prix. Now, there's a new race in Qatar, but it's going to be a bit different. It will be the second to last race in 2024 from November 29th to December 1st. This is because it's really hot there, so they want to avoid the extreme heat. Finally, the last race, the grand finale, will be in Abu Dhabi from December 6th to December 8th. What about the car launch dates and regulation changes? Before the exciting races begin, there's something special about the cars. The teams haven't told us yet when they will show off their 2024 cars, but last year they did it between January 31st and February 16th. Since the testing in Bahrain starts on February 21st, 2 days earlier than last year, we might see the new cars a bit earlier. Now, the people who make the rules, called the FIA, made some changes. They say that when teams test their old cars, they can only use parts that were already used in a real race. This is to make sure nobody tries to use completely new stuff just for testing and to gain an advantage. They wrote it down like this. Cars must only use components and software that have been used in at least one race or testing of a current car in a championship season. It is similar to a rule to keep things fair and ensure nobody tries tricky stuff with their cars. The reserve F1 drivers for 2024. Now let's talk about the drivers who aren't in the main races but are ready to step in if needed. They are called reserve drivers. Some teams are keeping their reserve drivers from last year, like Red Bull, who is keeping a new talent called Liam Lawson, and Mercedes, who is holding on to Mick Schumacher. But there are changes too. McLaren, a racing team, decided to bring in 2 new reserve drivers for 2024. They are Ryo Hirakawa, who won a big race called the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year, and Pato O'Ward, who drives in a different kind of race called IndyCar. These reserve drivers are like a backup plan in case something happens to the main drivers. So, are changes being made to the Formula One sprint races? Formula One is thinking about changing how they do the sprint races in 2024. The teams and bosses seem to like the idea, but they haven't decided exactly what changes to make yet. They're talking about it, and more discussions will happen in January with the FIA, the people who make the rules. In 2023, they already made some changes to the sprint race weekends. They separated the qualifying session from the sprint race, which decides the starting order for the big race on Sunday. This made things a bit different, but it also meant that starting from Friday's first practice session, the teams had to follow some strict rules about their cars. Now, for 2024, they're talking about making even bigger changes. One idea is to bring back the qualifying for the big race on Sunday to Saturday afternoon. The sprint race would then happen in the morning. The special qualifying session that decides the order for the sprint race would move to Friday after the first practice session. This change could make things more flexible for the teams. After the sprint race, they might be able to adjust their cars before the big qualifying session. Similar to finding the best way to make the weekends more exciting and give the teams more freedom to improve their cars, but they're still figuring out the details. So, what do you think of the cancellation of multiple GP races? Comment below and subscribe for more.